Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show on News Talk KFYO. Our next guest, always a pleasure to visit with the Texas Republican Party Chairman, Alan West, joins us once again here on the program. Chairman, good morning. How are you today, sir?
Good morning, Chad. Doing very well, and later on today I'll be catching an airplane heading back to my birth state of Georgia to campaign for Senators Perdue and Loeffler.
Let's. I saw that on your Twitter account earlier, so we'll start with that. But one, and we just got done earlier talking about this this race in Georgia. I had a listener say, "Hey, how can I send money?" We talked about winred.com, but we've also had other listeners who go, "Why would we bother if the election?" Because we have a lot of listeners, Chairman, who think that the election was stolen here in the U.S. And they look at, this battle playing out in Georgia and say, well, why should we care if it's going to be stolen? If they're going to steal a presidential election, won't they just steal a U.S. Senate election? How do you respond to that?
Well, I would say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. If we allowed it to happen a second time, then that would be our fault. And so that's why, much the same as they say, flood the zone. It's very important that we get as many possible people there to draw attention, have the poll watchers there, backup poll watchers, triple-level backup poll watchers to make sure that there's no nefarious actions. One of the things, the states that was mentioned in the Texas lawsuit was Georgia because of the consent decree that was signed by the Secretary of State there that did not call for verification of signatures on those universal mail-in ballots, which very interestingly, Chad, just a few months before that, the Supreme Court had ruled against the South Carolina Democrat Party, saying that you must have signature verification on these mail-in ballots. But yet the Supreme Court, for whatever reason, didn't want to take up this very clear case that Texas brought forward. So what is going on in Georgia is very important, because as you just said, Kamala Harris is talking about the gun buyback and national gun mandates. Well, if we lose those two Senate seats, that means that they're even closer to being able to do that.
And what is your feeling on the Georgia race, right, or on those two races right now? Speaking with your counterparts in Georgia, what's the overall mood?
The overall mood it comes down to the turnout. Once again, what you see happening in Georgia is what is happening all across the United States of America. The progressive socialist left takes control of the major urban population centers. In the case of Georgia, it's the Atlanta, Fulton County metropolitan area, and then the rest of the state is rendered irrelevant if they don't come out and have the turnout that is necessary. The exact same thing you see happening here in Texas between Dallas County, Travis County with Austin, Bexar County with San Antonio, and Houston-Harris County. Those major urban population centers are trying to dominate the political landscape in Texas, and that's why we fought very hard against the county clerk in Harris County who was trying to do the universal mail-in ballot scheme that you have seen in other places. I think it's important for us to realize, Chad, that this election was tipped based upon 4 states and 4 cities within those 4 states: Atlanta, Georgia, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Detroit, Michigan, and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And if the left had been successful, that it would have also been Houston, Texas, which would have flipped it toward Vice President Biden. So we've got some work to do to make sure that we strengthen our election laws. That's why election integrity is the number one priority going into this legislative session of the Republican Party of Texas.
Let me ask you about your quote that a few people heard about on Friday when your response to the Supreme Court basically shutting down Texas, saying we're not even going to hear the argument. And the part of the quote that got all the attention was perhaps law-abiding states should bond together and form a union of states that will abide by the Constitution. Now, I know you've been out. You were on Fox News last night, and you're not for Texas seceding from the union.
Never said Texas needed to secede. As a matter of fact, as I said last night, the people that are seceding from the union are those people that are violating our election laws, violating our Constitution. And as I said again on Fox News last night, if you look at the very first sentence in the preamble to the Constitution of the United States of America, it says, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union." So in order to form a more perfect union, we created the Constitution of the United States of America, our rule of law. And the Texas lawsuit, joined by 17, 18 other states and 106 members of Congress, said that we have 4 states that did not follow the law, did not follow election law. We have 4 states where courts and secretaries of states and governors were going in and changing election law. The only people that can change election law is the legislative branch. They're the only ones that can change the law, period. And so if these states that are following the law, these states that are following the Constitution, they're supposed to go only one court with original jurisdiction, and that's the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is supposed to interpret the law. And their refusal to do so means that law-abiding states do not have what the 14th Amendment says, an equal protection under the law. So what do law-abiding states do? I mean, the state legislatures, the attorneys general, they need to come together. They need to form a union, a coalition, an alliance, a consortium, whatever you want to call it, to protect the law-abiding legal citizens within these law-abiding states.
Yeah, and I guess that's a good point. What you bring up, too, is, whatever you want to call it, and that's what I was going to ask you, what more can be done? Because you look at the Texas lawsuit, Texas was joined by, 17 other states.
Yes.
You could say, there you go, there's law-abiding states coming together, bonding together, right?
Yes.
But what more can be done? Because obviously that got shut down by the Supreme Court. What do you think can be done more in the future to save the integrity of elections here in the United States? And because obviously you feel more needs to be done.
Well, without a doubt. And I think one of the most important things is like what we're doing here is asking our state legislature to have tougher laws, tighten up our election laws, and make sure there are consequences. The county clerk down in Harris County, Chris Hollins, who is also the treasurer of the Texas Democrat Party, he should be doing a perp walk with the things that he tried to do by extending universal mail-in ballots against the law here in Texas, and also expanding curbside voting against the election law here in Texas. But yet he's still walking around free, no harm, no foul, some would think. So that is what we're saying. These states' attorney generals, these state legislatures of law-abiding states that believe in our Constitution, that understand that we are a constitutional republic, a Republican form of government, which is what the Constitution says, they need to come together and have strength against these states that are not following the law, because it can have damaging effects on states and citizens within those states that are legal voters and law-abiding citizens.
Visiting with Chairman Allen West here on the Chad Hasty Show. Do you worry, just as chairman of the Republican Party of Texas, do you worry about the ramifications of this election as far as voter turnout in the future? If there are voters who just throw their hands up and say, hey, if the left is going to take the election, they're going to take it, there's not much we can do.
Well, the Bible tells us do not worry. So I will tell you that I do have a concern about some people losing their faith, trust, and confidence in our electoral system. And the American electoral system is supposed to be the gold standard of the world. But I also see many Americans that are rising up, studying the Constitution, asking hard questions, getting more informed and better educated. And I think that if there's anything that has come out of this 2020 election cycle, is that we have just had a lesson, kind of like Schoolhouse Rock. We are having a history and civics lesson, which we're not teaching in our schools and we're not discussing openly. So I believe that you're going to see more voter participation because the American people do not want to see themselves become a third world banana republic.
Before I let you go, looking ahead into 2021, obviously we have the session coming up. You've brought up voter integrity as a big issue that
constitutional carry. And constitutional carry is another one.
Okay, talk about that. Go into a little bit of deeper detail. What are some of your priorities, or what you think should be priorities heading into the session?
Well, it's not my priorities. It's the priorities that came out of the Republican Party of Texas convention earlier this year. And so we have the election integrity. We have the constitutional carry. We want to stop this child gender modification that is going on. We shouldn't have 8-year-olds that are being put on hormonal therapies in Texas. We want to end the murdering of unborn babies. I think that's very important. If you look at the effects that that's had on the black community, you talk about a genocide, over 20 million black babies murdered in the womb since 1973. Taxpayer-funded lobbying is another big issue for us. So there are 8 total. You're taxing my, cognizant memory here, because, I did get thrown from a motorcycle at 75 miles per hour. So,
yeah. Hey, you seem like you're doing well. Yeah. But if you go to texasgop.org, you can see all 8 of those priorities. And I think also, Chad, we need to make sure that we're keeping our, executive in check, because there's some issues about executive overreach even here in the state of Texas. A governor can't go out and appropriate taxpayer funds to a private entity like with the MTX Corporation, $275 million for contact tracing. Appropriations go through the legislative process. So we've got some things we've got to get our 3 branches of government here in Texas. We've got to get that in proper alignment too. Very good. Chairman, Merry Christmas to you, and we look forward to visiting with you again in 2021.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, and stay warm up there, folks.
All right, we'll do it. Good luck in Georgia.
Thank you now. God bless.
That's Chairman of the Texas Republican Party, Alan West, here on the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk KFYO.